Welcome to the AUA News Inside Track podcast. Today's Inside Track podcast is part of the Voices series and is brought to you by the Diversity and Inclusion Committee. Here we'll be joined in conversation with committee members, AUA members, and urologists from around the world to discuss how to build a strong, vibrant, and diverse urological community.
Hi, I'm Tracy Downs. I am a professor of urology at the University of Virginia in Charlottesville. I also hold the titles of Chief Diversity and Community Engagement Officer and also Senior Associate Dean of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. Super excited here to be with Dr. Denstedt, a longtime friend and really great visionary in urology and really at an international level. And I've seen your travel schedule, Dr. Denstedt, which is amazing. I don't know how you keep up, but we appreciate you are really, truly an ambassador for urology across the globe. And I don't think that can be said loud enough or often enough. And definitely only a handful of people have carried that banner, and you do it so uniquely and so well. So just thrilled to have some time with you. And our first question is just how did the first diversity focus issue that came out in 2021 come about? If you could just share that with our podcasters.
Okay, well, first, thanks very much for those very kind words, Tracy. I really appreciate that, and thanks for having me here as part of this podcast. I'm really thrilled to be a part of this important discussion. So, you've asked historically, how did the diversity, equity, and inclusion issues of AUA News come to fruition? So AUA News traditionally has just been a publication that really publishes invited content. So we don't have a traditional peer review system. Instead, we rely on our many associate editors who are content experts in various areas, pediatrics, oncology, and so forth. And they provide us lists of topics and suggested authors. We invite those people who really, I must say, step up incredibly. They submit articles, they're reviewed, and ultimately they're published. But then in the fall of 2020, we started to get unsolicited articles, which was really a great and very welcome development. And some of those articles were focused on DEI topics. So that triggered us to think we might have an opportunity here to put together a special issue, put all of those articles together into a single focused issue. In fact, you and I worked very closely, Tracy. I think we were great partners in this whole endeavor. And in 2021, we published the first special issue. It had 40 articles. And I must say the timeline was very, very tight. It was just a matter of a few weeks inviting people to put these articles together, and 100% of the people stepped up and did that for us. And it was just a superb issue. Then we replicated it again last year. We published 50 articles last year on a whole host of topics. We brought in international people to write on their experiences, which were just fantastic articles. And then for this year, with the establishment of the DEI committee, we began to work with Dr. Larissa Bressler. We appointed a couple of other guest editors, Justin Hahn, Michelle Simmons, and they helped to put this year's issue together, which has even more articles this year. It just came out, I think, in the last week, and it's really tremendous. So we're committed to publishing diversity content all year round, in not just a single focused issue, but in perhaps every issue of the AUA News that comes out. Some of these are focused on research, happenings in the section, human interest articles, and so forth, and really continue to publish these articles. And I think it's just been fantastic. The whole experience for me has really been tremendous. And I hope and I'm sure the readers find it to be useful information.
Yeah, thanks so much, Dr. Denstedt. And it really, I think your vision and April being, Celebrate Diversity Month, and was really, beyond timely that you thought, hey, let's take that next step. And in some ways, a little bit of a risk, right? It's not core urology yet. Now it seems like it is almost part of our DNA, so to speak. But there it was still a little bit of a, kind of a pilot. And so how did you have any, how did you kind of galvanize those within the AUA to kind of take that first critical step that now seems like we do it? It's just routine. It really feels that way, but 2021 is not too long ago.
All right. Well, I must say it's been a team effort right from the beginning. The publications team at the AUA were tremendously supportive of this throughout. You certainly absolutely were, Tracy, and were a leader in all respects and helping to move this along as well. So it really was truly a team effort here. And, I've always thought, and this applies to everything I do, that we just don't count, in this case, our diversity initiatives as checking off a box. It really has to be tangible items that we're doing that are visible to people. And we're very committed to DEI reporting of initiatives, review of content from a health equity lens, showcasing this work, as I've described, all year round. And I think AUA News is just a great global platform. There's 25,000 people monthly who receive the AUA News. It's translated into multiple languages. So it's really an ideal place to showcase this important work.
Wow, that's impressive. I remember what caught me off guard was, not that academic urologists are not busy, but sometimes the private practice urologists, I always wonder what resonates with them. And I remember people pulling me aside and talking about certain articles and how it resonated. And so I was a little bit caught off guard in a really good way that it had struck a chord with the readership. And I wanted to see, was there any particular topic or initiative or maybe comments that you got back, Dr. Denstedt, that really resonated with you and almost maybe changed your perspective along DEI?
Well, there's been several of those, but for sure, one item is the representation of women in urology. And by that, I'm just not meaning domestically, but internationally as well. We've had many articles, of course, on the experience of women in urology from domestically, but also several from internationally, from Africa, China, the Middle East, and just reading about the challenges and the barriers and how those were overcome. It really impacted with me, and just to become more aware myself and attuned to this and so forth, it really was a very significant impact. And I think the other thing is the energy and value that early career community individuals bring to these efforts. And by that, I mean medical students, residents, fellows, those early in practice, just out of residency and fellowships, and how much it means to them to have their voices represented in AUA News as well. So seeing the young people involved, hearing their perspectives was just very, very important.
That's great. I remember the global perspective, and as someone who at times is maybe overly domestic, I kind of felt that, I guess, a little nervousness if were we ready to think about DEI on a global stage when We were just thinking about it in North America, if I can use that term. And I really applaud you again is thinking that way, because it shared that common thread of, like you said, barriers. And, we at times, maybe our friends in Canada can say that in the US, we're so me driven that we oftentimes maybe don't think about other perspectives and experiences. And so for our female urologists who felt like they were really a small number, to hear of those women internationally that were even smaller. And if I remember correctly, you had almost trained every single one, if not every single one, it may have been 80 to 90% of the women in urology, at least who I know were in your subspecialty.
Well, that's correct. So we've had, as I mentioned earlier, several good articles from really throughout the world. And to obtain those articles, of course, I drew on people I knew myself. And I've, as you led off with this podcast, I've really had tremendous opportunities myself with international engagement, and been to many countries, learned about many cultures, met a lot of people, and have a great network. And that includes in the Middle East, where, as you might expect, there are really not many women in urology in the Middle East. But I've been very fortunate over the years to have trained many great fellows here at my institution, and several of those actually have been pioneering women in endourology who trained here in Canada at my institution, and then become well established in that part of the world. So I've certainly always looked to expand the footprint. I've always had a global and international view of things, and this whole forum has really just been a great platform for it.
Wow, that's wonderful. And Dr. Denstedt, this might be our closing question is, where do you see this particular focus issue going in the future? Do you and Dr. Bresler and others maybe have ideas about where you want to see it in the next couple of years? And maybe even if we fast forwarded to 5+ years down the road, what do you think it will be, or what would you like to see it?
Yeah, well, Tracy, it's grown exponentially just in the short period of time, 2 or 3 years that we've been doing it. I wondered a bit after the first year, maybe we've sort of tapped things and so forth, but the number of articles doubled the year after that. Again, this year it's up very significantly. And just to use the word diversity, the diversity of the articles has become just tremendous as well. There's not one single theme or topic here. It's expanded into so many different areas. And I see that continuing in the future. And AUA News now is not just once a month. There's actually 24 issues a year, one print every month and one online. So we've got a platform there to publish many more articles, and I hope to see it, again, not just on a one-off thing once a year, but to expand really throughout the year. So, of course, nobody has a crystal ball. It's hard to anticipate exactly where everything will go with this, but I certainly think it's going to continue to grow. Continue to have a great impact, and we'll touch on areas that we haven't even thought about at this stage. So I just think there's a huge potential in this. And for me, finishing up actually my term as AUA Secretary and as editor of AUA News, I'm just waiting to watch and see where the next leaders take all of this over the next few years. And I'm sure it'll continue to grow, and it'll be fantastic.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Denstedt, again, I'd like to personally thank you for your time and just your leadership in launching this. I can't wait to read the current issue so I can dive in and really, again, can't underscore 25,000 readers, active global as well as national engagement, a platform to share those big ideas and to help us all grow professionally and personally around DEI, and not to lose focus about how that makes us better people and also better urologists. So thank you, sir.
Well, thank you, Tracy, very much for providing this opportunity for your leadership. As we started out on this journey, it was critical, really, to the success of it, and it was great to work with you. Thanks again.
Thank you.
This has been Voices, an AUA News Inside Tract podcast brought to you by the AUA's Diversity and Inclusion Committee. For more information about the AUA's diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts, visit auanet.org/diversity.